Um, and looking at the minutes from the last meeting, does everyone approve?
Yes.
Motion, okay.
Yep.
Motion, all in favor? Minutes approval? Yes, aye. Thank you. Okay. I could bring the agenda up, if that was necessary, but anyway, okay. I was a little bit confused, to be honest, Simon, with the first time doing this about like unfinished business versus new business, but there's a lengthy agenda today, and we'll just see how it goes. But if you have any advice about that.
None at all. Looks like you're doing just fine.
Okay. So the first thing I had in unfinished business, although this I think could be new business, but is the recap of the special meeting we had last week. Jane was there, David was there, Gordon was there, Richard was there. He's not on tonight, is he?
Yeah, he's here.
Oh, they're there. Oh, he walked away. Oh, sorry, Richard. Okay. Um, and we had a guest there, John Zeiser. Is that his name? Somebody help me. Yeah, that's right. Okay, thanks. Um, and we had a really good conversation. And I think we can talk about this maybe later on tonight in this agenda of like, ultimately, I think we need to start thinking about goals for 2026. But I think what was one thing that was really great about that special meeting is that we really looked at our mission. And I think we netted out that rather than have to change the mission or change everything about the mission, sorry, my husband is doing dishes. Sorry. Okay. Maybe I'm distracted by it. But instead of, and I do appreciate any little tweaks and ideas to the mission, but instead of changing anything about it, I think it's about clarifying what it means and how it trickles down to the actual activities, priorities, goals that we have. Because, and as mission statements are, it's very broad, create, develop, and maintain a viable economic um, business climate in Cornwall. It's very broad, and that's okay. But my feeling, having been on the EDC for a while now, is that we sort of haven't honed in on what that means for this particular EDC and what we think we can really accomplish and drive forward in terms of goals. So we had a nice open discussion about that. We had some ideas about it. Later on in this meeting, I want to share one slide that I keep going back to in my mind, but I kind of want to just get through the agenda first, and then we can talk more when we talk about goals for 2026. Richard or Jane, do you want to add anything to my general, or David, sorry, do you want to add anything to my general overview there?
I guess I would just say I think it's a good thing to do from time to time because
Mhm.
everybody seemed more relaxed and the discussion seemed a little more productive without it being an official recorded whatever meeting. So I think it's not a bad idea to do it every so often, just to get ideas going and
Yep.
Say that it is an official meeting.
Yeah.
There's nothing
Right, but
unofficial.
yeah.
It was a special meeting, but not, it's a meeting with an agenda and minutes that are filed. That we should probably at some point approve those minutes too from that special meeting.
Oh, sorry,
Um,
I do have those. I forgot about that.
but
Okay, we
but
can,
but I mean that you can do
yeah,
that a month later. That's okay too. So,
okay.
but I think sometimes it special meetings that have a single focus, which is what you're saying, Jane, that with a single focus, then you're able to get, by definition, focus on that. And that's what we did.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, it felt useful to me.
Good. I mean, I think that's a good point, Richard and Jane too, but just because there's always so many, smaller things, so to speak, on the agenda, having those special meetings for specific discussions seems to be a nice way to maybe make some progress in certain specific areas. So, yeah, we can definitely talk about when the next one of that could be.
You know,
Continuing, go ahead.
and just let me, one other thing, you sort of were talking about the agenda, this agenda to begin with. And I don't think you have to include um, all the unfinished things necessarily, because maybe they come up, maybe they don't, maybe you skip a couple of meetings. Some stuff's unfinished for a long time.
Yeah, good point.
Remains unfinished.
It remains
Right.
unfinished, and maybe it'll never be finished. Some stuff never gets finished. I mean, when it's
Right.
finished, it's over. That's the end of
Okay.
our committee. That's the end of our
Yeah.
committee.
There you
Um,
go. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I'll just breeze through these. Jane, on the unfinished business. Jane, any update on the highway department?
Yes, there is an update. It's not a finished update. Let me get my piece of paper here. I spoke to the guy who's the manager at the local highway department down at Bunker Hill, Patrick Emerson. And apparently the rules about not having signs out in various places comes down from the state. And I don't know whether it's fortunate or unfortunate, but he seems obliged or willing or happy to enforce those rules. So the long and the short of it is you can put signs up if it's on your private property or on private property. So if they're near a driveway or right in front of a house, they will leave them. If they're at intersections and places that are clearly state land, they will take them. However, if we had a piece of property that is owned by the town as opposed to the state, we could then designate that as a place where we could do it. The clock tower in Sharon is a case in point where they have all those signs. That's actually Sharon town property, not state. That's why they're allowed to leave them there. So I don't know if the town has any little corners or pieces of anything where we could do it, but that's an option. So that's as far as I got with him, but I've reached out to what is his name? Roberto Fernandez, who is actually down in Thomaston, who is the state person who issues permits for putting up signs and sometimes temporary signs. And he won't be back in his office until the 20th of November. But to see what's involved, if one could get a permit for instance, a 2-week period to have signs up before events. So apparently that's the way to pursue it is through him. So I have emailed him and I'll expect to hear back from him. And we may be able to do it that way. I kind of explained to him that, to the guy I spoke to, Patrick, how, that in a town this size, it really is how we communicate about events. So that I was hoping we could establish a window of like 2 weeks before an event. So we'll see if if we can get permits and it's not a horrible process, that might be an option. So that's where
Um,
it stands for now, I think.
Thanks, Jane. That is interesting to know about that Sharon location where there certainly is always lawn signs. So I guess that's a question for Gordon, but maybe we don't have an equivalent spot like that.
Yeah, I'll ask him. I mean, we might have a corner somewhere. I don't know. Even if
Yeah.
it's, I don't know, town properties, post offices. I don't know. We'll have to see if there is, a useful town spot where
Right.
we can do that.
Great.
Did you have it in because it doesn't help or hurt us, but what about the political signs? Did he say anything about the
I
election?
very carefully didn't mention political signs.
Gotcha.
We were having as nice a conversation as I could manage at the time.
Uh.
And I didn't want to bring that up.
Right.
He was at some pains to say that they take them all down equally. I know it's not true, because very specifically the blood drive signs stay up. I guess they figure they might need blood, So they have some leeway, clearly. But I very specifically didn't ask about the political signs. They do take them down. They have a garage full of them down there. So, but supposedly equal-handedly. I can't vouch for that.
Gotcha.
Mm.
Okay, it looks like Chris Sampson is not on. Bianca, do you know anything about the 12 days of Christmas that you wanted to share?
I think it's the 13th of December now, 4:45 till 6:30. It's a Saturday.
Okay.
Melissa sent out a flyer.
Oh,
I
she
don't
did?
know,
Okay.
and I can share that after the meeting. I don't know how to do that right now.
Okay.
And I don't want to totally cancel out this meeting, which would
Yeah.
happen.
No. That's fine.
Yeah.
And we don't know, last year, I don't think the EDC really contributed money anyway, and Chris
No,
and Melissa haven't requested, so we'll have to
right.
get an update when we get to the budget part. Okay.
Exactly.
Um, I just put on here and revisit the idea of the farmers markets, a meeting, and Duncan, you had brought that up a while back. I don't know if we want to bring that up again or let that one rest for now. Did you have any thoughts on that?
Well, the issue that I brought up was not about one or two farmers markets in Cornwall. The idea that I was exploring or starting to explore was helping Cornwall farmers get to farmers markets in more populated parts of Connecticut, like down on the
Mhm.
It did raise the issue of 1v2 markets in Cornwall, which is certainly an issue worth revisiting. I'm not sure that I'm the person to do that, but it is an outstanding issue.
Okay. Okay. We'll leave that for another time. Um, the moving to new business, the holiday party, I realized, and this was the only date that Trinity Retreat Center could do it, is on the date of our next scheduled meeting. So, I guess I have a protocol question for one thing, and maybe Richard and Simon, you can help me with that too. But so hoping that everyone, or many of us can attend that holiday party. A Tuesday night is maybe not as convenient in some ways, but I think it was on Thursday nights 2 years in a row. But it's a really nice tradition. It's really lovely that they do that for the EDC and for our business community as a way to get together. I am working on the paperless post invitation, so everyone will see that. Gary, I might need like $50 at the most. I had some credits from last year because I bought more than I needed last year for the paperless post. Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry. Um, so would we be able to change that scheduled meeting to the Monday? And I guess of the people here, would you be able to do the EDC on Monday at 7:30 that week?
I think what you would have to do is cancel the regular meeting and put up the special meeting, because that will be a special meeting
Okay,
because it's not a scheduled meeting. And in a
I
special
see.
meeting, you just have to keep in mind that whatever you put on the agenda is the only thing that you can really discuss. You can't add anything to the agenda then during the meeting. That's the only
Okay,
thing.
okay. So is this something we should vote on? Would everyone be in agreement to cancel the 13th? Is it the 13th? Do I have the right date? The 16th, sorry, the
16th, yes.
6th, cancel the meeting on the 16th and have a special meeting on the 15th. Would everyone be in favor?
Mayor,
Yes.
that works for me, but I'm wondering, since the party is on Tuesday and there might be discussions and conversations that people have, that maybe this is better done on Wednesday, where we might be able to leverage what we've heard.
Yeah, but that's a nice idea. And
You
I
could
could do,
also make,
okay.
you could also make Tuesday the meeting, and the meeting, in fact, is the party. And we don't get any business done except talking to people.
That's a nice
Well,
idea.
I mean, that's, that's a possibility.
I'll just take minutes.
I mean, I guess it's changing the time of the meeting, so technically, I don't know if that would still be a special meeting. Because the time and location has changed, right, Bianca? Do you think that would still be like
That's
a
true. Yeah, no,
special?
yeah,
Yeah.
that would still be a special meeting. You
Okay.
are correct.
Okay.
Hold
So,
on.
we could also have a special meeting at another time of the, well, anyway, let's not just belabor this. So I guess would it be, we could do it on Wednesday. How many people would be able to do a Zoom or library meeting? We have to check the location of the library for the Wednesday, the 17th. Would everyone, most people be able to do that either on Zoom or? Okay. You can do it, Bianca? Yeah, okay, I didn't see your hand for a second. Okay. So why don't, okay, I guess I make a motion to cancel our regular scheduled meeting and have a special meeting, agenda TBD, on Wednesday at 7:30, the 17th.
Make a motion
And
to approve that.
Second,
All in favor?
Well, and it would be a Zoom if there's no location to be had, I guess, which we
Right.
can.
Yes. I can ask if the library is available. I don't know what meetings are on Wednesdays. But I'll find out. All right. Did we get an all in favor?
All in favor?
Okay. Richard, you're good? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Thanks. Okay. Thank you. Gary, did you want to go sooner than the end of this? Do you want to bump up the treasurer report or?
Whenever you're ready, that's fine.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, traditionally, it should be at the very start of the meeting, but
Okay.
that's
I
fine.
had it, sorry, I had it at the bottom. I think I was thinking about it in terms of goals too for next year, just thinking about it. But we had a meeting with Connecticut Main Street with a gentleman named Carl, and now I forget his name, it's not in front of me. David was there, me, David, and Rocco, which was great. And we met him at the market. We had a nice long conversation about what he does, and how he works with many, many towns across Connecticut on their main streets and how to improve them. We walked a little bit along the road of Cornwall Bridge, and then we drove up to West Cornwall and walked in West Cornwall as well. Anyone who wants to be more involved in this is welcome to learn more. The next step, I mean, he had a lot of ideas. I guess I'll just say, and this again is, I think my mind is, as the new chair, I think my mind is on like goals and really making sure that we all feel that we can have some clear and collectively, committed goals for 2026. And he had obviously he had a lot of ideas of things that different towns do in terms of, and some of it was just brainstorming that, like outdoor art versus whatever food related things. But some towns sort of like we've talked a lot about recreation in Cornwall as sort of our why come to Cornwall. So whatever path we go down in terms of like our messaging, which is another whole topic, he helps more with the sort of viability of different things and how a town is already set up and strengths and weaknesses. And so that's, I guess, as much as I'll say. He did say one thing that keeps sticking in my mind for goals, is that he's like, pick one thing, like pick something, pick one, maybe it's two things, whatever that is, like, but pick something that you can focus on. And I think that's, again, what I feel like we do a lot of things and we do a lot of good things. And But maybe we could feel more like we're driving to like one goal a little bit more clearly. And that was something that he talked about. The next step is a meeting in sometime in January. The date, there's three options. I can email everyone that he would come back and he does what's called like an assessment, and he goes through 85 questions about your town. So I'll send an email with those dates. But that's sort of what I have so far on this program.
Mayor,
Yes.
is he an employee of the state or a commission of the state?
So it's sort of a unique thing. No, he's an employee. It is a nonprofit organization. It's
Okay.
Connecticut Main Street.org or whatever. It was originally funded by Eversource at the time, Connecticut Light and Power. It became its own thing. It does get some state funding. It's sort of, he described it as a public-private partnership.
Mm-hmm.
But so it does have some state, but he's not employed by the state. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's
I think-
interesting. Go ahead.
I think Gordon ought to agree that we would pay the 750 fee for this assessment.
Yes,
So he's
we
not
already
doing-
voted. We already voted on that, right?
Good. Yes.
That's coming out of EDC?
Out of EDC. Yeah.
Oh, maybe Gary, you weren't at the last meeting when we
No, and I didn't see it
approved
in the
that.
minute. Okay.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
No, it's okay.
Yep. So that's an important expense, I guess.
You know,
And
the
I
other,
think he's supposed to prepare a report. It's not just an assessment. I think it's a written report.
well, it's an
Yes.
interesting thing because he'll ask
does.
those 85 questions. And when we spoke to him, and again, it was kind of, just speaking about everything, what happens in the town, what we've done, what we'd like to do, the placemaking thing that was going on in Cornwall Bridge. And what he will do after he has those 85 questions, they actually have a program or a protocol, and they'll give us an outline, an action kind of plan, based on the questions we answer and how we could go forward. So, probably the first stop, that first issue on that new plan, because he spoke about that, he said, "Who are you?" And that will probably be our first project and goal, to define who we are. And we've spoken about this in terms of recreation, in terms of nature, and business and all the rest. But at that point in time, I would imagine, because he spoke about this, that first project would be, who are we? And he was also talking about, as Mayor was saying, about small accomplished projects. So we were in the front of the post office in West Cornwall, and right across the street by the old butcher place, there's a bench, and there's a little kind of public area, which is very, very small, and you've probably noticed the bench. He said, well, you could make this place very, very inexpensive, so it's attractive, and people will walk and sit there for 2 seconds, and it's just part of the walk in West Cornwall. And that's, a very simple type of thing to accomplish.
Was that not the piece that was sold to the purchaser of the old
I
book
don't
shop?
think so. No, I think
The
that's
triangle,
behind.
whatever
No,
it
that's
is?
behind that.
Okay,
But-
good.
So that's a little area that I've been taking care of, out of the West Cornwall Village Improvement Association budget, mowing, putting a few plants there. So it's, as easy as it sounds, it's always just yours truly. So, I could use some help. There's the Cornwall Garden Club, and I have not seen them doing much in West Cornwall. It would be lovely to rope them in to actually participate and do things in West Cornwall, in Cornwall Bridge. I think it would be really helpful.
Well,
Absolutely.
He talked. Oh, go ahead,
what
Vin.
Carlos was just talking about is
Mhm,
pick those possible
mhm.
goals, and a couple of goals that may be more difficult. But I'm sure we can figure that out, Bianca.
And he
Of
did mention, and I think again, we have to sort of collectively decide which of these things,
course.
align with our priorities and our goals. But he mentioned like garden clubs is a great way to engage the community and make improvements. He mentioned the trails, and we have amazing trails, and we have, the Cornwall Conservation Trust. He said that there was one town, I forget which one, that sort of recently they had a trail that goes right into town or out of town, and it was just sort of a way to have hikers be able to take a hike, but at the same time, the trail's right there. Now, we don't have that exact situation, but just a thought about, we don't even have a hiking sign right there by the covered bridge. We could just little things that he did share that other towns do that have people come in and not just enjoy recreation, but visit the businesses. So there's a lot of potential things to do in that area, and I think the garden club is a great way to start. I don't think we've ever reached out to them, Bianca, so it's absolutely
Oh,
something we could. Oh, you do? Oh, okay. Okay.
And again,
Yeah,
as
yeah.
the EDC,
Okay.
we could budget $300 and give that to them so they can actually,
Well, I'd
execute
like
some
that.
things.
You could also contribute that to the West Cornwall Village Improvement Association, and I can have someone mow that place, things like that. That would be absolutely, yeah,
That's something to talk about.
yeah,
Yes.
exactly. So
Can I
Good
just
point.
make a couple of comments under the
Yep.
heading of comments from a grumpy old man? First of all, I don't think it's the EDC's place to get into an extended dialogue about defining who we, Cornwall, wants to be as a community. So our mission
Duncan,
is to
could you
help.
say it again because I couldn't hear you?
I'm saying I don't think it is the EDC's role to get into an extended dialogue about what Cornwall should be as a community. Our job is more focused. We are about building the economy, which is about helping businesses and about helping people to live here and and those more sort of tangible issues. And the second issue is 85 questions are great, but I think we kind of grabbed onto an issue a year ago, which was reflecting this idea that Cornwall Bridge should be the commercial center of Cornwall. This is a great way for us to help current businesses and to attract new ones. The businesses that are there now are suffering or leaving, with the exception of Richard. And we found an opportunity for us to work on that with the EDC to really drive forward a set of plans that would make Cornwall Bridge a more attractive destination for businesses, residents, and visitors. And we got to the point where we actually had town-funded engineers drawing up plans with very intelligent, informed options about how to move forward. I really just hate the idea of taking all these steps backwards before we can get back to a very specific, tangible, meaningful project that fits the EDC mission to try and make Cornwall Bridge the effective commercial center of the Cornwalls.
Duncan, we've spoken to him about this, and that's part of our backbone of our plan. Because as you did, Duncan, with the placemaking type of thing and all the rest, that's the backbone of the plan. And it will be part of probably his outline, but it doesn't matter if it's not on the outline because it's our outline. Those are the priorities that we've made, over the last year. So this is not, or I don't think that it wasn't replacing or diluting or a new direction. It's just part of us putting it on paper of what our plan is, what are our goals this week. And that part of that, Duncan, to me, it's the backbone of the EDC in terms of the commercial part of Cornwall Bridge. But as I said to Carlos, because Gordon had said this to me
Carl.
in terms of Carl,
Carl.
who are we? Who are we? Not talking about the population and the like. It's about business. Gordon would say to me, well, Cornwall are 3 villages, West Cornwall, Cornwall Bridge, and the village. And maybe that's where we start in terms of, from a business point of view, who we are as a business environment. But these are great conversations that we can have, in the start of the year.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Jane.
I have a question about the 85 questions. Are these
Okay.
questions to be addressed to the EDC, or who and how does one answer 85 questions?
Right. He did mention, and of course, as commissioners, we're all invited. He did mention that the process can get a little too long with too many people in the room. But again, of course, we're all invited, and I'm going to send out the possible dates and ask everyone for their availability. I'm just finding his email because he has four like sections. So it says it consists of 85 data point questions across the 4 Main Street points of economic vitality, design. That's probably where you're going with the Cornwall Bridge placemaking, Duncan. And I never meant to say there was any kind of step back in that. I think that's, David said, absolutely on the table. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
My earphones just did something weird. And then let's see, so it's economic vitality, design, promotion, which is something that obviously we have done on this committee and continue to do, and organization. So those are the 4 things, and it's a meeting, sit down, go through these 85 questions. Everyone can contribute, and that's the structure. That help, Jane? Okay. The next 2 things on the agenda.
Mayor, before
go
you go
ahead.
on.
Yeah.
I'm going to mirror what Duncan had said, that he had and our team had made great efforts trying to find out something for Cornwall Bridge. Paralleling that, those 4 ideas coming out of Carl, I think we already have answers to them. I think the little I've heard so far, the Connecticut Main Street initiative would be more viable for somewhere like Kent or Salisbury, which are much bigger towns and have a vibrant, active center. We have Cornwall Bridge, which is suffering for a myriad of reasons. West Cornwall is missing a great anchor to attract people other than the bridge. So I'm wondering if what this process would do will give us an answer that's pretty close to what we already know ourselves.
So Gary, let me just address that to some degree. Well, we've paid for it. All right. So that is what they're going to provide us for. And again, when he presents that, and when speaking to him, because Rocco was there, I was there, Mayor was there, all the ideas and all the things he was talking about, we have talked about that. That's part of our careers. Gary, on our Duncan, and everyone in this room has spoke all of this. So they just may be a duplication of what we've talked out. But by the same token, because he is an expert on these type of things, we'll see. Maybe it will enhance us, and maybe we'll say, hey, yeah, this is just another bullshit kind of, think tank. But we've paid for it, so let's see the product for sure.
And we had a discussion at the meeting that you weren't here for, Gary. So, Gordon was there. Gordon explained, and it's absolutely the right question. I feel like the one thing that we could all say is we certainly do have a lot of ideas on this committee, and a lot of ideas from many people in town of how to improve our economic vitality, but it's hard to take those steps that actually kind of feels like an accomplished list of things that we've done. So ideas are one thing, and I hear what you're saying, Gary, they're only so valuable, but I think the process is also this standardized process that maybe hopefully in the least will sort of put it all in a plan, a situation analysis, and a plan that will help us move forward in certain directions. In the least, I would hope we would get that from this in-depth, assessment from them.
Mayor, do you think Carl would send us a report that they've done with other villages or towns so we have our expectations and understand what he's going to produce?
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'll ask him as I respond. Yeah, when I respond, I'll ask him. It's a good idea. Maybe the standardized, yeah.
I think part of the other reason for doing this was to get closer to the COG, the Council of Regional Government,
Right.
and that they're right behind this too. So it's slightly bigger than just this report.
Right.
Agree.
At some level, by doing this, at some later step or some later time, when we're discussing, trying to figure out, looking for money, coming up with conclusions, one of the questions will be, well, did you do the Main Street report? That'll be the question. And we'll say, well, no, we chose not to do that. And it's like, well, you got to do that first before you come to us for this. And even though it's going to say that mostly what we know, or maybe all that we know, it's part of the process of continuing to move forward. It is all, and frequently, it is mostly what you get, everything you already know. But once in a while, there's a little nugget of something in there that's like, oh, I hadn't thought of it that way, and maybe that's what we're hoping for.
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, what's your?
And I mean, you could definitely hope for a nugget or two, an outside eye that offers a different perspective than all of us who, have tried hard to do different things. I was going to say there's no grant attached to this process that we're paying for it. We're to become a member of Connecticut Main Street, but there are grants that he mentioned, again, for sort of specific things and often they do come from economic development commissions. There are grants that towns receive for specific programs and ideas. One was a marketing example, right, David? I can't remember anyway, so that's just something else to think about when we get there. Maybe there's an initiative that we do feel we would apply for a grant for, and that would enable us to do that. Anything else on this? Main Street? The next two agenda items actually are about Cornwall Bridge. So I just wanted to share one because I sometimes think that in the least, as long as if we kind of as commissioners know a little bit more details, even if there's not something immediate we can do to help, we can let other people in our circles know. So the owner of Housatonic Frame, Art and Frame Shop, Steve, many of you probably know him. He reached out to me specifically about his current situation in his shop, which is that so his shop is the same building as the post office in Cornwall Bridge. Just to be clear, you may have noticed that it's no longer white. It's been painted gray. It has been purchased by a pool company that I believe they're in Kent. And so right now they just use the basement, which I guess is behind the back. And he has a lease until April of 2027. So he sort of came to me just again wanting to know what's happening. He has a short-term concern and a longer-term plan. The short-term concern is that in April of 2026, this new landlord has already told him that his rent will increase, and he's worried about that. Um, and he then for 2020 for his longer term plan, he actually wants to retire, and he has been speaking to several potential successors, and he has a vision that this successor, and again, he does have specific people interested, which is great, might be able to occupy part of the former candle shop, which, as we all know, is also, so that's 22 Kent Road, two doors down. And that property has been for sale for a while now. And he was just wanted to know if there's a way, and I don't have a solution for him right now, but I'm curious to hear, that the EDC sort of can help put the word out about potential businesses and properties. And, I think he has a nice vision for his business to be able to pass it on at a new location that has more space, and he would be able to sort of pass it on in a improved state. So I just wanted to share that, and we all know that those are just two examples of buildings that are either empty or changing in Cornwall Bridge, and then all of the buildings that are occupied by the northeast lumber are empty as well. So I just wanted to share that. Any comments
Mayor,
about how we can help? Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for the update. Does anyone, or Mayor, anyone here know the new owner and their intentions?
I only know from Steve what Steve told me. It's a pool shop, and I have no idea about the post office, but I think they would want, when Steve's lease is up in 2027, they would want to use it as it's not a retail store per se, but it's one of those locations that if you need pool supplies or whatever, or a new pool. So that's all that Steve knows that I know.
I've met both owners. They're fairly independently minded. They're from Kent. And I don't know. I think whatever we're thinking they may want to use the space for, maybe they have some other business they want to move in there. It has nothing to do with the pool business, and maybe their pool business. Maybe they want to change the rent. Maybe they want to move the post office out. I don't really think we know what their intentions are. They've fixed up and cleaned up the property in the back. They've obviously painted the place. They fixed the roof. They've done a lot of stuff, but it was under maintained for a number of years, and so it's sort of like sweeping changes. But I don't think anything's been done there in 10 or 15, maybe 20 years, long time. I'm not sure we really know what their intentions are. They may know. I don't know. I mean, that's the upside is it's new energy. The downside is you're not sure where it's going. I think and they're not necessarily telling anybody.
Okay. Thank
I mean,
you. Thank you, Richard.
Steve's perspective is that he has a lease that is up at a certain point in time, or comes up for renewal at a certain point in time, and he has to negotiate with a new owner. I think those things are true for sure, and maybe he's thinking of getting out, but I don't know. As is true with new owners, and in all locations, they typically have somewhat different ideas than the previous owners. That's always a curiosity to me. But that's a different story. I won't go down that road. So I'm just saying that I don't think we really know, and what their intentions are.
And then the empty space, I guess this, I'll just say this in my own sort of like how to be imagined being more impactful or, we have a business that is going through a transition, that's been in business for a while. And, it's a small business, but he runs a really nice business with loyal customers. And somebody, a business owner that has an idea, and I know the EDC can't, you know, find investors for things, but I just wonder, and I'm just asking this now because we're on the topic, I just wonder if we can somehow create more communication around, this is happening and highlighting that there is an empty building that maybe would be a good investment for somebody, and a tenant could even already be interested. So I guess I just want to put that out there. Like, how can we actually support a business like that wanting to maintain, these small businesses that have been successful here? I mean, are there things that we can do to sort of foster that, and support it? So, let's see. Item 6 on the agenda is that, we've had some discussions here and there about social media and the website and et cetera, et cetera. We did have Neil for quite a while. I think he's sort of has stepped back. He does do some posting still for us, which is nice. He will update the website, but this I just had reached out to somebody named Janet Sarah, who used to be on the tourism board. She was the director maybe for Western Connecticut, I'm not sure. And now she just has her own consulting firm. Bianca is familiar with her, and she does some work for Norfolk. So a lot of the Norfolk like communication. And so it's just something to plant a seed for a future conversation, probably in January, whenever we feel like we want to revisit that idea of actually maybe paying someone to do that kind of work. But again, this comes back to our priorities. If it's a priority, then maybe we need to have a strategy and a plan that's more effective. It's very time consuming, and just difficult to manage. So if somebody can kind of, I just wanted to know that I talked to her, and we can revisit that if anyone has any comments about that for the moment.
I mean, that's a very important, about our plan. And when Duncan was talking about the Cornwall Bridge commercial area, we have to define what we want to do in these places. What do we want to do and accomplish in West Cornwall? What do we want to accomplish in Cornwall Bridge? The lumber company is going to leave those stores. And do we have a plan and an idea of how do we want to create that area? So I've spoken to many of these people with this. That lumber new headquarters is kind of an anchor. And just one idea is maybe Cornwall Bridge should be a design center. All right. Because it is an ancillary type of thing against the lumber headquarters. So maybe this be a place where you have interior designers, where you have construction people, where you have architects, where you have showrooms for chimneys and barbecues. And everything you would see in a type of design center type of area, which, if you've ever been in Long Island City, they created a total neighborhood around something called the design center. And if we want to think about that or something like that, we can actually then reach out, or part of the EDC, where we reach out to people who are in that design center kind of industry. Because there are only types of businesses that can exist in Cornwall Bridge, not restaurants, not that needs a lot of water, not, so it's almost back office kind of consulting types of businesses. And again, it could be, a carpet design. It could be, I mean, we have one in West Cornwall, a furniture maker. But again, this may revolve around the anchor of the Northeast Lumber Company, which is going to build, I don't know, maybe a 10,000 square foot building there. And that's one idea in terms of defining what we want to do in Cornwall Bridge. But just trying to find a business here and a business here, that may not be as effective.
That's
Just
not our strength. Yep.
Just a thought.
Gary, do you want to share the treasurer's report?
Yeah, just before that, are there any funds approved for Christmas tree lighting?
Yeah, I was
No.
going to ask that too. And what was Chris going to be doing about it?
Yeah, I'll reach out to him. Haven't had any update on that.
So I had circulated today the financials. An update of that is now going to include the $750 fee for the Main Street survey. And I'm making a motion to return back to unencumbered $221 that was allocated to Cornwall Days that's been unspent. So that's the first motion.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Well, if we're going to
Oh,
discuss that, I just haven't submitted
Oh,
an invoice for some form of reimbursement for the music, which I think was part of the funding for that from Cornwall Days.
Yes,
I guess I
thank you,
never
Richard,
really
'cause I meant to bring that up, Gary, whether on your update, because I think we had approved a music fund up to 500 in
500.
my memory.
That's right.
And it looked like only the Pink House. So we have the package store, the Wish House, and the market all had music that weekend. I saw that we made the payment to Gremley Griffin. So is that 200 part of that or not?
it was. So actually,
Oh, okay.
based on, Richard, what you had just said, I thought all the invoices had been received. So I will rescind the motion, leave the funds as they stand. But so the update is we have approximately 2,400 unspent and unapproved from now till the end of June.
2,400. Okay. And just an aside, Gary, we can email, but I think we didn't, Bianca, didn't you submit it? Didn't you submit it? I gave you an invoice. Let's revisit it.
I've never received anything.
Okay.
I've never received any money back. I know that.
Did you submit an invoice to me?
I don't even know if I got an invoice.
Okay.
I'll loop all that back.
Yeah.
Didn't we have a Cornwall Days budget that we were matching money for Richard?
That's what we're talking about.
The Cornwall Market and the Wish House. I mean,
that's what we're talking about.
That probably costs at least $600, $800.
No, that was supposed to be $100, $100 per venue. It was $100 per venue from the EDC,
right?
And each venue would pay $200, I think, or whatever the fee. I'm not quite sure. It may vary depending on what the artist.
The fees were all different, but we just agreed to match not match, but to provide $100 reimbursement. Right.
So it's $300 then, because it's three businesses.
The Pink House already got their $100. It was 4.
Oh, it wasn't Bianca. I'm sorry. So it's Richard in the market right now.
And Bianca.
And
No,
me.
there's 4 businesses. We approved
Well,
up to
that's-
Just
500.
remembered.
That's $300 then.
Right,
Yeah.
so how do we only have 221 left? If 3
We
of
may
us
have-
haven't gotten them,
We have
There
gone
were-
over, go over budget in printing a little bit,
Mhm.
right?
okay,
We had
Yes,
some
okay.
and shipping costs and
Yes, we did.
yeah.
So on this, for any business that has an outstanding amount to be reimbursed, please submit it as soon as possible, and we'll take care of it. And if there's an overage, we'll come back and the commission will vote.
Okay.
And we
So
submit
again,
that to
the
you.
net brings us to remaining about 2,400 until the end of June. So there's no funds for 12 Days of Christmas. There's nothing for Christmas tree lighting at this point.
Okay. Thank you, Gary. And
Sure.
I'll make sure that we follow up. David, do you want to mention it to the market to remind Michael he can submit? Okay. I'll follow up with the Wish House, and Richard, you got yours. You got your invoice, so you can just forward it, right?
If I can find it.
Okay. He might have sent it to me as well, so I can look for it too.
It's in a file somewhere. It's in a file.
Okay. I'll try to find for Bianca and for you, because I was involved in those too. So, okay. So I was going to share something if we have it's coming up on 8:30, and I was going to share something that I did share at the special meeting that I mentioned. If we wanted to sort of, it's a way that I have been trying to sort of lay out thinking about our priorities and trying to figure out, as a group, like which way or which goals we feel are realistic and effective goals for 2026. So I guess I'll just share this slide if we still have energy, and we can always continue this. So, and this has come up even in this meeting. You can tell me if this doesn't make any sense to you. I'm not offended. So it's just my way of trying to lay out like the big sort of pillars, for lack of a better word, or areas of things that we do on the Economic Development Commission based on our mission. Because there's activities that we do that involve tourism. There is the supporting and promoting existing businesses. And then there's planning and encouraging future businesses. Then in there, I would encompass, did we lose Duncan, or is he still here? Are you still here, Duncan? Oh, no, you are. Good. Okay. You came off my screen for a second. And that's where I would put like the Cornwall Bridge placemaking and doing things that really can make it more attractive to have a business here. I was thinking of this as like sort of an overlay, and this is where I'm trying to get to goals, and I certainly want this to be like a conversation. We have time, I guess. I'm not sure exactly when the new goals are put in place, but I assume sometime in January, unless it's on the June cycle. But anyway, good conversation nonetheless, whenever we do it. Thinking about tourism, what we do already is things like updating. We do already print that map, but if we were to think about a priority, really focusing on how we can increase tourism and message to visitors, we would think about things like updating and potentially improving the brochure and the map that we have, improving the retail rack card that we created this year. Obviously, it needs to be updated anyway because businesses are always changing. We could have more presence in CT visits somehow with whatever sort of strategy message we have that we want to get out there. So that's sort of like one sort of focus that I think, we do in some of this already. Do we want to do more of that? And then in terms of supporting and promoting existing businesses, we've talked about having sort of like, for lack of a better word, I'm calling it a co-op advertising campaign, but sort of a working with the local businesses who do have funds to advertise to help put a collective, David has talked about this, help put some kind of collective campaign when we advertise Cornwall overall, but each business gets a highlight. I think, and I'm open to discussion on doing things like events and the Cornwall Days, music, arts, engaging the businesses in that way is intending to support them and promote them and drive more business to those businesses. These things at the bottom here, sort of, not every activity is so siloed. So if we did do something like make an effort, maybe hiring a consultant to build more social media presence, to have more website content, this would do both things. It would help tourism. It would help support the businesses and bring more locals and visitors alike. We can talk, we've talked about having a recreational, making ourselves like a recreational destination, and that being sort of the umbrella of our message, of our campaign. Other ideas we can talk about there. And then this third pillar here, I feel like it's very different, and we're only 8 or 10 people with a modest budget. And I think it's so important to be able to plan and visualize things such as the Cornwall placemaking that can really long term make a huge impact on the business climate and improving the just improving the opportunities for existing businesses and potentially new businesses. But that's, I think, very different efforts that happen there, and whether we can kind of come to some thoughts about, continuing there versus what we could do besides the placemaking thing, other ideas. So this is just my way of trying to capture sort of the big picture and how choosing kind of what we think we can do effectively trickles down into goals and what we think those goals should or shouldn't be in terms of our priorities. So I would love any thoughts on this from anyone.
Mayor, we don't need Carl at this point in time. I think that,
like you said, we already paid for him.
No. I'm sure it will be great. This is perfect. This is a great outline of the, things we can talk about and how to move forward on this type of stuff. I think this is great. This is a good start.
Yeah. I go ahead.
No, I agree. I didn't think we spent enough time on the right-hand side. We're probably the only group in Cornwall that does try to do this, and probably making more of a making it more visible would be a good thing.
Mm-hmm. I guess what my struggle is, and again, can be an ongoing conversation. We can have another special meeting to the point earlier, is that I don't know that we can do all of these things well. And I guess when I think about goals for 2026, do we want to get like more specific, like really have a, I don't know, kind of pick a lane, so to speak. And I'm not saying that doesn't mean we ignore the other things completely, but I do feel like one of the challenges is that the priorities are sort of dispersed across a lot of littler things. And I'm not trying to be negative about what we do, not meaning to be negative about what we do, but it does feel like it might be more effective if we really agreed, like, yes, that we need to really be aligned with planning for the future. We have all these empty, and I'm just throwing that out, we have these empty buildings in both commercial centers. We have a new wastewater treatment plant coming. et cetera, et cetera? Do we want to become more about planning and making our efforts there versus, and I know we're not going to answer this now. I just wanted to help set this up in terms of where I would like to, have more specific discussions about goals evolving. So anybody else have any comments here?
Yeah, we are supposed to be the development commission, so it certainly ties with that.
Economic development, the keyword being development, maybe? Yeah.
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 And I think it comes back to the thing you said in the very beginning about focusing, choosing one or two achievable things and focusing on them so that we don't dissipate our efforts. We have a very small budget,
Right, exactly.
and maybe we can concentrate it on one or two very specific goals and achieve them.
I think part of that also, if we're talking about a budget, but part of our budget is our volunteerism and our time. And perhaps each one of us should think about how much time we have to accomplish some of those tasks. And, a lot of people are very, very busy and can't that much time. But maybe other people on the committee can commit to that time or those goals or take over any of these projects so they're responsible for that. And again, because it's, a voluntary thing, we can always move the goalpost. There shouldn't be so pressure that it has to happen by February. But, maybe each one of us should take whatever we can do and take the responsibility for making those goals. And some people can only communicate on the meetings, and that's important also. But I'm thinking about that for myself right now, in terms of taking some of these projects and actually accomplishing them and being responsible for me. So just thinking about that.
I like the idea, David. I don't know if this would be productive for all of us, but what if we, and again, it can be a special meeting if that feels like the more like one topic conversation to be had. What if we each chose like one, two, maybe three, but it could be one thing that we think should be a goal for 2026 and shared that at the next meeting? How does everyone feel about that? And I would say for goals to be as specific as possible. Like I just put up these goals for this year, and again, there's nothing wrong with them, but they're very broad, and some are more specific than others. But it's I feel like one of my goals is to be more specific and feel more driven to certain goals and outcomes. Does anybody like or hate that idea? I don't care if you hate it. You can say you think it's a good idea.
Yeah. I mean, I think
Okay.
I think we need to discuss what few goals we really want to focus on. So it's a good start.
Yeah, I think that might make it feel a little collective when we all have time to think about it on our own, which is always hard in a group meeting. But like this number 2 here, I'll just use it as an example of what I personally find challenging is support the Board of Selectmen in attracting and enabling new business entrepreneurs in Cornwall, help to identify business opportunities and help facilitate. Like that could be a 10-year goal of a lot of planning that would go into that number 2 right there. Or if we got specific, it could be something very specific that we want to see happen, So I think it feels like that might be more, just feel more effective, that where we can really make progress. So if we make these more specific, so we just pulled these up as a.
And again, developing this on this goals, one that's not really specific on this is the placemaking thing. The DOT development for the sidewalk. And that's part of a going on project. And that should be on our goal list also.
Yeah, no, I agree. It like could sort of fall under number two. That's what I mean about how broad it is. Like it
Perhaps,
does,
perhaps.
it does help attract and enable new businesses, identify new opportunities. So anyway, but yeah, no, I agree. It could be. Okay, let me stop sharing my screen, which I lost my, whoops. Okay, I appreciate just, some initial thoughts on that and continuing conversation. But maybe by the next meeting, which is on Wednesday. Oh, it is a special meeting, actually. We already had that. It's a special meeting on Wednesday, December 17th at 7:30. I'm going to check on the library location so we can be in person and everyone can come back with a couple of goals that they think make sense to everyone. Anything else? The selectmen are not here this evening. Any other comments? Okay. Meeting adjourned at 8:43. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Good
Yep.
night.